Good morning, everybody. This is Bill Knudsen, and you're listening to the Sportsocology Show. I'm back in the saddle again. I've been out the last couple of weeks. I was kind of in a little bit of a funk, debating whether I wanted to continue on because my volume of listeners wasn't, increasing the way I thought it would. I've got a small group of loyal listeners, but I just wasn't getting the volume that I had been hoping for the last few months since I started this. I think it was Super Bowl weekend I started, so I was a little depressed, and the last couple of weeks I haven't done anything. But then I got a message from my cousin Ken up in Massachusetts. He was like, I haven't gotten any notifications about your show. Are you still doing it? And I replied just what I said. I've been in a little funk, a little depressed. Not like a clinical depression, just like, should I be doing it? Like I said, I'm not getting the viewership that I wanted. But he said something to me that kind of gave me the kick in the rear end that I kind of needed. He was like, well, I look forward to hearing your voice. I like your insight. I look forward to hearing the show. So it kind of, clicked what made me do this in the first place. I started doing it just because I love sports so much and I love to talk about them, and that was really the reason I did it. And sure, I hoped to get a big volume of people, and I still do, but the main reason was, that I enjoyed it. And I have a small group of loyal listeners, so I want to do it for them because they enjoy listening to me and what I have to say. So I appreciate, Ken reminding me of that. And don't forget, Ken, next week's show, Saturday, August 30th. I don't know what time. I know you said you're very busy and you might not be able to do it, but I'm going to get in touch with you the next couple of days because me and my brother and maybe a couple of friends, we're planning on doing my first video show next weekend, and I would love to have my cousin Ken be a part of that via Skype. But even if Ken can't make it next weekend, I'm definitely going to hook up with him during the season, talk about his Jets, who I anticipate to not be so great, along with my Giants. I think it might be kind of a rough year in New York for football. But, the bottom line is it reminded me that I do it because I love doing it, and I'll do it for my fans, whether I have 10 fans, 50 fans, or hopefully 1 million one day. Whatever the amount of fans that I have that enjoy what I do, I'm going to do it for them, and I'm going to do it for me. So thanks a lot, Ken. I'll be in touch shortly. And all right, on to regular business. I think most of today's show is, if not all, is going to be about the NFL, and I'm about to do some serious venting. I know you're shocked by that because would I ever vent? Of course not, right? But I think it's nothing new what I'm going to say. It's just some of the same old crap that we're hearing, way too often. The latest thing, what was it, last week with the two running backs from the Steelers, Le'Veon Bell, LeGarrette Blount. And he's got the perfect name, LeGarrette Blount, for what the latest arrest in the NFL was. If you didn't hear, Le'Veon Bell, LeGarrette Blount, the Pittsburgh Steelers' top 2 running backs right now, got arrested, I forget which day it was, but it was sometime last week, for driving under the influence. Now, if you didn't hear the story, I'm about to tell you what happened, at least. I wasn't there, but this is what the NFL is reporting. They got pulled over by a cop who said, as they drove by him, he could smell the weed coming from their car as they were driving by. Okay, so he pulls them over and cites them, for marijuana possession, so on and so forth, and obviously these two idiots will have their day in court eventually. Now the details came out. They're smoking the weed in the car while they're driving on the way to the Steelers team plane to fly to the game against the Eagles that they played the other night. So forget about smoking all the dope, how dumb that is, and how illegal it is, not only in the NFL, but, it's illegal anyway. In at least most of the states. I think there are 2 states now that it's legal, and some more that a small amount is legal, whatever. I mean, that's never been my thing and never will. But really, you're driving in the car on the way to the team plane, smoking the reefer. I mean, like I've said many times before, most of the guys, it seems, in the NFL are tremendously ignorant and just have no common sense, which, by the way, common sense today is not very common. Sadly, that's the case. But really, you're smoking reefer in the car, driving, on your way to the team plane to go play a game. I mean, these two are just taking their ignorance and stupidity to another level. It's like if we tried to put together NFL teams in terms of intelligence, we wouldn't even be able, in terms of the players that we have now in the NFL. If it went by intelligence, we couldn't even put together one team, let alone the 32 teams that are across the country in the league. That's how many ignorant, clueless, guys that there are in the NFL. And it's like, what would these guys do if they couldn't rely on athletics? I mean, they have no brain to be able to do anything legal and constructive. So it's just so pathetic and so sad how stupid these guys are. It just drives me crazy. And I'm getting less and less tolerant as I get older. Because last week I just turned 48 years old. And very belated happy birthday to my cousin Ken up in Massachusetts. He's got the same birthday as I do, August 13th. He was born a year before me. But now that I'm 48, I'm even less tolerant than I was at 47, less tolerant than I was at 46, 45, so on and so forth. And I'm guessing that I'll even get less tolerant of just total stupidity, ignorance, and lack of common sense. I just don't get it. And then to take it a step further, Le'Veon Bell, one of the 2 morons from the Steelers that got busted for the pot, he comes out and says, I didn't know you could get a DUI for smoking pot. Are you kidding me? It's like, okay, you're obviously ignorant, clueless, stupid, all of that stuff. Do you need to advertise that to the whole world, how stupid you are? The 2 of these guys together, if you added their IQs, it wouldn't come up to 0. It's like, yeah, DUI stands for driving under the influence. It doesn't just mean alcohol, you moron. It means pot. It means pills. It means LSD. It could be, a strong cold medicine or something. Anything that puts you under the influence and, doesn't allow you to have, all of your senses and skills to drive, you moron. That's under the influence. It could be probably a dozen other different things I didn't even mention. But please, you're so stupid, obviously. Do you need to advertise it to the whole world? Can you guys in the NFL and the NBA that are so moronic, can you stay off the reefer, please? Can you try and be a decent human being? Follow the rules? Excuse me. I mean, we really need to come down hard on these guys that just want to continue to make themselves, their city, the team, the league look bad. We really need to bring the hammer down on these morons that continually keep doing these things with, the pot and the domestic violence and all this other stuff. I'm waiting for Commissioner Goodell to bring the hammer down on these fools so we can start to clean up the game. Don't get me wrong. There's no bigger fan of sports than I am, and I'm going to continue to watch and go crazy over them and whatever, but please, can we clean this up? And, try and get some people in there with a clue. Okay, anyway, I'm going to move on to, let's see, Johnny Manziel. The other day, they're playing the Redskins in Washington, and I guess he wasn't liking the way the game was going, a little frustrated. All right, he's a rookie, he's young, but he's also 21 years old. He's supposed to have some sense. And he's flipping off the Redskins bench. Okay, in the overall scheme of things, is that super tragic? No, but, can you have some sort of self-control? Are you going to flip off all the fans if they boo you, too? Or if somebody on the Redskins bench said something you didn't like. I don't know if that's the case. I don't know exactly what happened. But, you have to have some sort of self-control. I'm thinking if Peyton Manning were the quarterback, and if the Redskins said something, do you really think Peyton Manning would have flipped anybody off? Do you think Peyton Manning would have, addressed the fans in a disrespectful way, or the media, or anybody else? No, Manziel's young, I get it, but he's got the kind of attitude, and I can respect a little bit of attitude because I have a bit of an attitude, but there are times and places for these things. Flipping off the bench on national TV, the opponent's bench, is not the place. Johnny, you're a smart guy, at least everything I've heard. You have the right to do what you want to do on your time off. Don't be taking selfies in Las Vegas, with all the girls and stuff. I'm not saying you were doing anything wrong. It's just an image that's portrayed with a couple of, instances you've had in the past when you were at Texas A&M. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. You didn't, I'm not saying you committed any crimes, although there was the underage drinking thing. So, yeah, that is a crime. But, just ease up on the attitude a little bit. At least wait till you've accomplished something. Like I said, you have the right to do what you want on your off time, as long as you're taking care of business on the field. Well, you haven't done anything in the NFL yet, and as of yesterday, I believe you're the backup quarterback. So what you need to be concentrating on, learning that very difficult playbook, because I know you didn't have much of a playbook at Texas A&M. You basically were able to do whatever you wanted to do. Well, you're in the NFL now, and you're not Peyton Manning. You don't have his reputation, his quarterback knowledge, his quarterback IQ. Maybe you'll get some of that someday. I don't know. But right now you're the backup quarterback. You need to be learning that playbook, eating, sleeping, crapping NFL football, that Browns playbook. Do everything you can to help the Browns win in your capacity as backup. Be ready on a moment's notice in case Hoyer struggles or gets hurt or something like that. Studying that playbook, living that playbook. And when the season's over, go to Las Vegas. I don't care. But you need to be all about football right now, taking care of business. If you want to get that starting job and have a chance of being successful in the NFL, you need to be about business. And I think you have the it factor. I think you have a chance to be a success in the NFL. But you have to put in the time. If you don't put in the time, the NFL will chew you up and it will spit you out. So take care of what you need to, Johnny, or you'll never be able to live up to whatever potential you have. All right. Well, also with the Browns, like I said, they mentioned that Hoyer was going to be the starter, which I think is the proper decision. Even the other day, Manziel said, if we were playing the Steelers tomorrow, I wouldn't be ready. So that kind of made the choice, in my opinion, a little bit easier for Coach Pettin, because Johnny's not ready yet, and it's okay. Not every rookie's ready to go, day one of the season. That's okay. I don't think it's a knock on Johnny. It's kind of refreshing that he says, yeah, I'm not ready yet. So go with Hoyer, who has a little bit of experience, has been around a few years, and give Johnny some more time to learn everything. And if Hoyer's doing a good job, he keeps it. If he's struggling and the Browns are losing, I'm expecting the Browns to lose, but if the Browns losing doesn't necessarily mean that Hoyer's struggling. I'm sure he'll have a big part in it. I doubt he's going to be completing 65% of his passes and throwing a couple of touchdowns every week, and the Browns are going to continue to lose. I doubt that's going to happen. But, it'll give him more time to figure out what's going on and eventually, most likely, take over, because I think the Browns want Manziel to be the future. Otherwise, they wouldn't have drafted him in the first round and moved up at the end of the first round to get him. But just stick to business, Johnny. Keep the partying to a minimum, if not non-existent, during the football season, and work about, all you need to be worried about is, Cleveland Browns football, learning that playbook and being ready at a moment's notice. But they're saying now that they might do a 2-quarterback thing and have some plays for Manziel. No, don't do that. 2 quarterbacks does not work in the NFL. It might work at certain colleges, depending on the system. But last I checked, the NFL is not college football. If they're going with a 2-quarterback system, it's telling me that they don't think they have any quarterbacks. If you have a good starting quarterback, you go with the 1 quarterback. You don't make up all these running plays for Manziel if that's what they're planning to do. They didn't do that at A&M. His running came just improvising. They didn't have, to my knowledge, at least not many, running plays for Johnny Manziel. He would look over the field and then on an instinct take off. If Hoyer's your quarterback, Hoyer's your quarterback. Manziel's on the bench, learning, listening. He's paying attention and he's ready, if need be. But you go with 1 quarterback. This is the NFL. Can't be clowning around with 2 quarterbacks. So if that's what they're planning on doing in Cleveland, I think reality is going to be harsh to them. So stick with 1 quarterback, Cleveland. All right. Couple of other things. Still ranting. I warned you at the beginning of the show. This was basically going to be a ranting. What is up with Ndamukong Suh up in Detroit? I watched the guy at Nebraska. He was so talented. He was the best defensive lineman in college football. And he wasn't doing all of this stupid, dirty stuff. Everything I'm hearing from him, as he was coming into the league, was how talented he is, how smart he is, how nice he is. I can see the talent, but he's displayed it at times, not on a consistent basis, in my opinion. But what is up with all this dirty stuff? He did it again yesterday, driving his head right into the quarterback's chest. This is not 1950s football. You are not allowed to do things like that. And every time you get penalized like that, it's hurting your team. And yet you do it on a consistent basis. You've been fined several times. The one time you stomped on the guy's chest while he was laying on his back, I would have suspended him numerous games when he did that. And I think that the commissioner needs to do this for these repeat offenders. The quarterback had already let go of the ball. It was it Chad Henne? Yeah, it was Chad Henne of the Jaguars. He had clearly let go of the ball already. You really didn't have to hit him at all. But if you're going to hit him, you don't have to drive an illegal helmet into his chest, knowing you are going to get flagged for that. See, if I'm the coach, I sit his undisciplined, stupid butt down, teach him a lesson. And if I'm the commissioner, you need to teach these guys these lessons. Because if they're just getting little fines and whatever that are like $1 to you and me, it means nothing. They're going to keep doing it. But the coach needs to do something because it's hurting the Lions team every time he does that. And the commissioner needs to do something for these serial offenders that won't stop committing these dirty acts. There's not a coach ever in the history of football that told you to lead with your head and drive your head into the opponent. You see what you hit. You use your legs, your shoulders, and your arms, and you drive your body, and you hit below the shoulders. Not with your helmet. Your helmet is to the side. You are seeing your target, and you put your head to the side, and drive with your lower body and your legs and your shoulders into the target. That is the way to make a good, hard, clean tackle. It's like, why do I know that? And these guys in the NFL can't seem to grasp how to tackle properly. Well, you know what the thing is? It's intelligence. I have it, and a lot of these guys in the NFL don't. I certainly do not have their athletic ability, but I would never even think to use my head to make a tackle. That's how you end up in a wheelchair. You know, that at the worst case scenario, you end up in a wheelchair that way. But on a much lighter note, it's a flagrant, penalty, and you are going to hurt your team besides hurting your opponent unnecessarily. I get it, it's a rough game, but you can play hard and play clean. That's what I respect. I have no respect for these guys that just launch their heads into an opponent's chest or into an opponent's helmet. I have no respect for people like that. So, we have to teach these guys, because obviously they're not smart enough and disciplined enough to do it themselves, that there are severe consequences for these severe violations. I'm waiting for the day that they'll start seriously cracking down on these type of things, but I'm not going to hold my breath. But I'm going to try and be positive and hope that we're heading in that direction. All right, and the last couple of things I want to talk about, a couple of starting quarterbacks that got assigned when they won the job. In New York, sorry Ken, this is going to be a little harsh, but they picked Geno Smith over Michael Vick. I don't get it. To me, Geno Smith is just a mess. He's going to have a lot more interceptions, fumbles, than he will touchdown passes. I didn't think he was that good in college at West Virginia. He got big numbers against small teams. But when he went against the big boys, all the interceptions came out. There might have been an exception or two. But he played well against inferior competition. But when he played against the bigger teams in college football, all the bad stuff came out. The bad decisions, the interceptions, not taking care of the football. And in the NFL, there is really no inferior competition. It's the National Football League. You've got the best players in the country. They're all men. They're all professionals. And I know it's only his second year, but I think I would have put Vic in there. Granted, Vic only once in his career has played all 16 games. I understand that. But Vic can do some stuff. If Vic would discipline himself into sliding, getting out of bounds, not trying to take on guys that'll put him in the hospital. Vic has something. He's got experience. He's got leadership qualities. He's got a good arm. He hasn't thrown a ton of interceptions in his career. He had the one problem a couple of years ago with fumbling, with the Eagles. He had some of that year. But I think he would command more respect in the offense with his leadership ability, run when you need to, and he's also got a lot more experience. Now, I know he's not the future, but I think Geno Smith can be on the sidelines and learn a little bit. But I think either way, the Jets are in trouble. The offense is bad. I just don't see much for the offense. They've got a good defense. They can do some things on defense, the Jets, I think. But you have to be able to score in this league. And I just don't see the Jets doing much scoring. I don't know. I think they'll be lucky if they make it to 500 maybe. Maybe next week's show. It'll be the last weekend before the Packers and Seahawks get us started on Thursday night, September 4th. Maybe we'll try and throw some things around about who we think is going to do what. I've got my fantasy draft next Saturday. So depending on what time of day I do the show, either if I do it before my draft, maybe we could talk about, opinions on who you should draft and which positions should you get early. If I do the show after the draft, maybe talk about how we drafted, why we drafted the way we did, something like that. But I think it's going to be rough, especially on offense for the Jets. That's the bottom line. Sorry, Ken. I'm sure that hurts, but I'm not telling you anything you and all the millions of Jets fans don't already know. In Jacksonville, why not start Bortles? I know Henny's got the experience, but has he really ever done anything? He hasn't done anything. You know, Michael Vick's had some success in the NFL, playoff wins. You know, Henny's never done anything. You know, Bortles has shown, you know, granted it's preseason, but he's shown like he's got some pocket presence. He can move outside the pocket. He can throw. He's made some good decisions. And like I said, what has Chad Henne ever done in the NFL to make you think that he's going to take your team to the playoffs? Granted, Jacksonville's been bad for a while, but in this case, I don't agree with that decision either. Put the young kid in. You know, the guy you're letting start, excuse me, really hasn't accomplished anything in the NFL. So why not Bortles? You picked him third in the first round. You moved up to get him. Put the kid in. You know, you've got an experienced backup in case, you know, Bortles struggles or gets hurt. But I'd go with the kid in this case. Go with Bortles. And, you know, in Cleveland, like I was talking about, I don't know if Hoyer or Manziel, you know, they really weren't that great. Not that they were horrible, but I don't think Manziel did anything to deserve to take the job away. Now, if he had come in and dominated, you know, in the preseason and just said, oh, we got to get this kid in there, you know, that's one thing. You can't go by what the fans want. Obviously, the fans, they want Johnny Football in there. I get it. But, you know, the fans aren't the smart ones. The coaches are there every day. They know, you know, by what they see, what they think is best for the team. And I agree with the decision. You know, I like Manziel. He's exciting to watch. I think he's got a chance, but he's not ready just yet. And I don't think he did anything in the preseason to say, yeah, Hoyer's not the guy. He didn't. Manziel didn't do enough to take the job away from Hoyer. So I agree with that decision. Manziel needs to, like I was saying earlier, he needs to keep working on that playbook, not only in practice. He needs to study the playbook, watch the film, you know, watch himself on film, work on everything he needs to work on, listen to the coaches, not think that you know everything because you're in the NFL now. You don't know a lot. You know, I know about all the success at A&M, but the NFL's a different world. So he needs to be doing all of that stuff, get more prepared every day, and be ready when and if his time comes. All right, I think that's all I've got for today. I'm going to be doing a show next Saturday, the 30th. I know my brother Mike will be here. My friend Daniel will be here. I might have another person or two. Hopefully, hook up with my cousin Ken up in Massachusetts. I know he's busy. He told me he's got a lot of things going on, but hopefully maybe he can find, 30 minutes or whatever. But like I said, if not, Ken, don't worry about it. We're going to hook up during the football season. I'm hoping that next Saturday will be my first video show. So you can actually see what I look like. It could actually be scary. But I think that might help with the ratings too. I haven't, video shows get a lot more, a lot better ratings than just audio. And, I need to do a better job of putting it on Facebook and Twitter and things like that. So that's probably a reason why my viewers aren't as high as I want them to be. But I wanted to take a second before I close to thank the people that are listening to me and have been these last bunch of months. I appreciate it. Ken, thanks again for the message the other night, giving me the little attitude adjustment I needed. I'm doing it for the people listening to me. Whether you got 1, 100, or 100 million. Do it for the people that are listening to you. And do it for myself, because I love talking about sports. And one day, hopefully, 1 million people will find out about it. But if you like my show, tell your friends about it. Tell your family about it. Tell your co-workers about it. Get them to listen. And I'll try and figure out some more ideas, starting with video shows and maybe figuring out some other things. I'm a rookie at this too. I've only been doing it a few months, so I'm sure I don't do everything right, don't say everything right. But, I'll figure it out as I go, just like Johnny Manziel and all the other rookies. But again, thanks everybody for listening. I appreciate it. Tell people about it, and I'm going to keep doing what I do the best I can. And for whoever's listening that enjoys it, I appreciate you all out there. All right, have a great weekend. Do what you need to do to enjoy yourself and relax. And thanks again for listening. And I'll see you next time, America, wherever you are.